Take from the top. Here we go. Hello, I'm Marc Steiner. Welcome. We have a very special town meeting here this evening. We're broadcasting from the Calvert House in Annapolis with our partners, the Maryland State Education Association, bringing teachers from across the state here to talk with our panelists to cover a real interesting spectrum politically in terms of their work when it comes to what's facing education in the state of Maryland today, maintenance effort and teacher pensions. And with 7 counties not making maintenance effort, with the governor wanting to put teacher pension load back in part to the counties, and the negotiations going on, this is probably more critical than I think most people in the state of Maryland realize. It hasn't been covered as deeply as I think it should have been covered, because this is one of those issues some people would argue. We can argue about this even whether it is or isn't. It's one of those discussions where this could be a pivotal year on whether we really fund education as it should be funded, or whether between maintenance of effort and not being able to figure out a way to pay for teachers' pensions means a cut in the classroom. Some people argue that's what it would mean. So we're going to look at all that this evening with our guests, and we have interesting panels here. Let me introduce our guest on this end. Ray Leone is president of the Anne Arundel County Parent Teachers Association. And Ray is also serves on the board, vice president of the board of the state PTA. Next to him is Christian Rhodes. Christian Rhodes is the education policy advisor in the office of the Prince George's County Executive. Next to him is Senator Rob Garagiola from District 15, Montgomery County, also the Senate Majority Leader. And to my right is Delegate Heather Mazier from District 20 in Montgomery County. And next to Heather is Superintendent John Andes from Worcester County on the Eastern Shore, right on the Atlantic Ocean there, protecting the ocean from the rest of us, as he likes to say. And Senator Joanne Benson is with us. And Senator Benson, of course, District 24, Prince George's County, member of the Education Subcommittee, and is a lifelong educator who's a former principal. So welcome. And we want you all to participate in this. You're teachers. Many of you in this room are teachers. Most of you are. The microphone is there to my left, and I really want you to join in on this conversation with your thoughts and ideas. We understand a bill has gone through the House this afternoon. Did I hear that right? About maintenance of effort?
It's potentially being introduced this evening. We don't go into session until 8 o'clock tonight, so I was told that it will likely be introduced this evening.
So let's look at where we are politically here. I mean, because you all represent, as state representatives, especially the two of you, sitting here, 3 of you, you represent your districts, but you also represent the state. Your county, Senator, is one that didn't meet maintenance of effort. Wealthy county. So talk a bit about, from your perspective, both as majority leader, seeing the machinations in the Senate, and what you represent. And also today we heard today in the news that in Montgomery County they're saying if this goes through, the cost of taking teachers' pensions will end up being as much money as running 3 separate departments in the county government.
Well, I think that maintenance of effort is obviously very important. A law that we've had on the books now, I think, since 1996. It's important because the state is making a commitment to funding K-12 education. Since I've been a state senator, we've increased K-12 education funding from the state by about $2.6 billion. So we've made a significant commitment as a state to education, and we're proud of the fact that for not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 years in a row, Education Week has recognized us as having the best schools in the country. Part of that is putting the resources in place. Part of that is the quality of the teachers and the school support staff that are there for our children. It disheartens me. I mean, we obviously had a very the most challenging recession since the Great Depression as far as the economy and whatnot these last few years. At the same time, the state is still making its commitment to K-12 education funding. That is still a priority for the state, and budgets are about priorities. So it disheartens me when my county, Montgomery County, did not meet the maintenance of effort. I have 3 children in the public school system, and as they, 8th grader, a 6th grader, and a 5th grader. And as they move through that public school system, to the extent, resources are reduced or class sizes are increased, that impact on them that year is going to stay with them throughout their career. To me, the county should make every effort to meet maintenance of effort, and we need to make sure that our laws are strengthened with respect
So let me ask you this question, all of you, but they ask this question. Go ahead, Senator Benson, please.
In 2002, we passed a bill here in Annapolis that dealt with the bridge debt service, and that was called the Thornton Plan. And there was a reason why the Thornton Plan was put in place. It was put in place to ensure that children really come first in the state of Maryland. It ensured that funding will increase for the education of children. As a result, the state of Maryland didn't become number one overnight. It's become number one because we had a commitment to ensuring that children are educated. The maintenance of effort is put in place to protect the Thornton Plan. And so it is disheartening. We can't afford to take a step back when it comes to our children and the education of our children. I am a 40-year retired educator. And one of the reasons why I decided to come to Annapolis is to fight for the full funding of education. We're not there yet. And so any attempt to turn back the clock by dealing with and removing the maintenance of effort plan is unacceptable. And they have a sneaky way in place to deal with the waiver piece, and we need to talk about that. So I am not going to support anything that would get in the way of the maintenance of effort, not only the maintenance of effort, but I am not interested in any way in taking back the plan that we put in place called Thornton.
The state dollars, shouldn't be, used to supplant local dollars. And that's, I think, what is occurring here. I mean, local dollars will get diminished in certain areas, and state dollars are coming in. They're not meant to supplant. They're meant to complement the local dollars.
Well, let me ask you why you think in certain places maintenance effort has not been met. What has been the issue? I mean, in Anne Arundel County, where you're president of PTA, really only.
It makes,
well, there was a huge battle
makes
between.
my heart smile to hear what she said down there. That really makes me smile because as a parent advocate, that's what you want for children. And PTA got behind that fight back in 2002 and even back in 1998 when we were looking at all of this. And we stood firmly behind that. And for good reason. We were lagging behind all the other schools in the nation. We were starting to lose ground. And that's our children that we're looking at here. That's our future. That's who's going to be our next presidents, doctors. It's that same speech that you get as a parent when you take on the responsibility of having a child. So you want to see that go all the way through. You may not want to reach into your pocket much more than we're already reaching into our pocket, but it's certainly the most important issue on the table at the moment.
But why do you think, Ray, why do you think in your county?
Well, they have a revenue cap, for lack of a better term, in Anne Arundel County. We're not going to collect any more money under the current guise of how we do business in Anne Arundel County. So adding anything further down, shifting a pension down into that, is only going to exacerbate a really bad situation already. They're already $12 million in arrears for last year's maintenance of effort. They're still arguing that back and forth over, whether or not that's going to impact them another $3 or $4 million in Maryland state aid as a penalty for not making maintenance of effort, which is a whole nother argument that somebody needs to talk about somewhere. Punishing the punished is not an effective way of making things work.
Well, one last thing. Well, I'm curious, why do you think, I'm going to ask Heather about Montgomery County and the other counties, why do you think it wasn't met? Why do you think that in Anne Arundel County they could not meet the $12 million?
There's not enough revenue to go around for everything that they need to do. Plain, pure, and simple. They need to take care of fire departments, police departments, libraries, Department of Aging. All of those things are important. And nobody had the political guts to draw a line in the sand and say this is where we stop. They just kept saying, well, maybe.
Christian, I think you want to jump in, please.
Well, I just wanted to jump in because I think there's it's a good conversation piece as well for Prince George's County. But the one positive thing is that our county executive, Rashawn Baker, last year, his first year in term, with a $50+ million deficit, actually said education will be the first thing we fund, and everything else will be what will be on the chopping block. And unfortunately, the county had to make pretty drastic cuts to other areas, but he's made it very clear public safety and education are priorities, and no matter what else has to be cut due to a similar tax cap limitation, he's willing to take the political battle that it really is for a politician, for a leader of a county to say, you know what, education's number one, public safety is number two. Every agency in Prince George's County, as he develops his budget right now, has been requested to cut an additional 5%. Every other agency, while education, thankfully this year, was able to actually increase their budget for the first time in 4 years as their budget request, and public safety as well. So I hear the conversation about political courage, and I think that it takes a leader to actually be able to stand up and say, you know what, this is not a popular decision, but as Senator Benson said, children should come first. I mean, it's not just a bumper sticker, it's not just a conversation piece we have when we're trying to be elected, but it's an actual policy. To me, it's a policy center. And I think for Prince George's County particularly, the school system and education is a center in which, the way the county executive says, is a center of a wheel. Economic development, public safety, quality of life are all the spokes on that wheel. And if you don't have that as a center, then it's a lot easier to have a conversation about how not to meet maintenance of effort.
Mark,
Please go ahead, John Andes.
I think the audience, and we need to understand what maintenance of effort is. Maintenance of effort is the same dollar amount the following fiscal year as in the current fiscal year. Maintenance of effort does not consider any inflationary costs. And we know every year costs keep going up and up and up. So maintenance of effort doesn't take into consideration any inflationary costs. If your student enrollment goes down, your actual maintenance of effort figure goes down. The only time your maintenance of effort dollars increase from county government is if your student enrollment goes up. So as an example, in Worcester County, overall for the last 3 years, our student enrollment has gone down 26 students. As a result, our county government can meet maintenance of effort, but give us $500,000 less dollars. Now, during that same time period, costs continue to rise in Worcester County public schools. Paper, pencil, textbooks, health insurance, all those costs keep going up. And what we have to do as a school system is we have to transfer money out of other budget categories in to pay for these needed services. So in terms of maintenance of effort, if your enrollment's going up, your money or dollars from county government will increase. If your enrollment is going down or staying stable, your county dollars will go down and still meet maintenance of effort. In the meanwhile, as superintendents of schools and school system leaders, we face these challenges of inflation, and that's not addressed in maintenance of effort.
That's interesting. Go ahead, Heather.
We all have a partnership in this, and we're talking right now about the role of the counties and the state. I want to start by acknowledging the role of educators. You're already taking on so much of the responsibility of keeping our schools #1 in the nation. You every day work to meet the rigorous curriculum standards that you've come together to help set for this state. How many of you are already reaching into your pocket to supplement materials to provide the needs of your classroom? How many of you are having to spend time out of your classroom in line in front of the copy machine making copies on the one Xerox machine that you have at your school? We are a system, and these are times where we are all very much stretched thin. And you're already stepping up to do everything you can to keep this the crown jewel of the state. There are 3 areas that we spend our money on in the state, and it pretty much comes down to education, healthcare, and public safety. And for a number of years, as we've discussed, this state and many of our counties have made education the top priority. In these tough fiscal times, we have seen a strain on that commitment. And we have now come to loggerheads and having to have a conversation about some of the outdated methods of how we calculate who's responsible for what. And this is an important conversation that we are having this session. And at least on the House of Delegates side on maintenance of effort, I know that the legislation that's going to be unveiled in the coming days, potentially as early as this evening, is going to try to put effort back in maintenance of effort. What we have seen in Montgomery County, because of our explosive growth in enrollment, we have, over the years, put hundreds of millions of dollars above and beyond what the maintenance of effort requirement is for our county.